So today we'll be discussing the chapter 20 of the book Aviation and Business Management, which is a part of the airport operation in ATC syllabus of AAI. It is the chapter is based on the topic of aviation policies in India, of course. So recently government of India from the past 3 to 4 years have released many policies. So we'll be discussing some of them. The most important policies only I'm discussing. There are many small policies, but these are the prominent ones. So the first scheme was the Udan scheme, RCS. So the full form of Udan is Uday Desh Ka Aam Nagrik. So it was a regional airport development scheme, which is also known as the RCS, Regional Connectivity Scheme of the Government of India. So in this scheme, the main aim was to letting the common citizen of the country fly. Common citizen is known as the Aam Aadmi in India. So that's how they coined the term as Uday Desh Ka Aam Nagrik. So what was the primary aim of this was to making air travel affordable. This was the primary aim, and also to boost the inclusive national economic development, which was the second thing. And then it will also enhance the job growth, and also it will enhance the airport infrastructure. So these are some of the key points on which this Udan policy was framed. The first one being making the air travel affordable to the common man, to boost the national economic development, to have a job growth, and also to enhance the air transport infrastructure among all the regions and states of India. So this scheme is applicable to all the states and all the regions. These are the key points. So this was the main idea behind this policy. What this scheme was, this scheme had mainly two components. The first component was to develop the existing airports. So develop the existing as well as the new airports. This is the first point. And to enhance the regional airports, to increase the number of operational airports for scheduled civil aviation. So under the first component, you know, the target was to develop the new airports, to enhance the existing airports, and also to increase the number of flights and the airports. So these were the part of the first component. Then in the second component, the important parts are, so it has to be made financially viable. Since everything revolves around the economy, around the finance, to enhance the airports and to add new airports, finance is needed, funding is needed. So what they did is they made some provisions that the some part of subsidy will be provided from the government of India as well as the PSUs like AAI. So this was the second component. If you see, second component is to add several financially viable capped airfare. So airfare was another key point, was that airfare was capped in a sense the flight rate were fixed. For certain thousand, let's say 1,000 kilometers, the flight rate was 2,000. So the minimum price should be 2,000 for that. If it is between 1,000 and 2,000 kilometers the flight journey, then it has some other fixed rates. So this way they actually brought down the flight rates in this Udan scheme. And also in this second component, what they did is they added the new flight routes. Since new airports were developed, so new routes were also being enhanced to connect more than 100 underserved and unserved airports in smaller towns. This is the key term, smaller towns with each other. So what happens is in between two, let's say Karnataka and Telangana. So what they did is they connected smaller airports like Hubli to another Kadapa. So to enhance the connectivity between smaller states, smaller towns, the new routes were established. So this was made also possible with the help of the viability gap funding. You can just remember these are the key terms that they can ask you in the exam. So this scheme was launched on 27th April 2017. It was inaugurated by Mr. Narendra Modi, and the inaugural flights were, one flight was between Delhi and Shimla and the other was between Kadapa, Hyderabad and Nanded. As I have said, smaller towns were connected, Kadapa and Nanded. These are smaller towns. The Kadapa is in Andhra Pradesh, whereas Nanded is in Maharashtra. So this way the connectivity was enhanced in between the smaller towns, in between the regions. So it is a jointly funded by central government and the state governments, and several states have come forward. So an MOU will be signed. So state governments will also give some funding, and they will also provide some subsidiary. We need not go into details, knowing these are sufficient. Next is, there is one more. Recently a policy is formed under which a digital sky platform is made. So it is still in process. So what are the key things of this is, first we have to understand what the drone is. Recently many drones have been developed. They have been used in aviation also across the borders to enhance the security of the country. So first we'll start with drone and then UAS, then we'll move ahead to digital sky platform, what it actually is. So drone, in a layman technology, it is an unmanned aircraft. I mean, it is remotely pilot controlled. It means there is no pilot who is sitting there manually and who is driving. Using a remote control, you can drive this drone. You might be knowing the drone. What I'm saying is, it is like a small aircraft. So this is a drone. Now we need to one more terminology that we need to know is RPA. RPA is remotely piloted aircraft system. So an aircraft system that can be remotely controlled or can be remotely piloted, then those are called as APS, RPS. So RPA is one subset of UAS. What UAS is, actually UAS is uh, an aircraft and its associated elements which are operated with no pilot on board is called unmanned aircraft system. So drone is a UAS. Since it has no pilot which is on board, this is the key term, no pilot on board. So this is a UAS. So RPA is a subset of UAS, which is a remotely piloted aircraft and its remote pilot stations and the required command and control links and any other components. So it's basically a system. How that, if in future if drones are to be given a permission to fly, then how it will be controlled is what this policy is talking about. If we move ahead, so Digital Sky platform is an online IT platform. This you can remember for handling the uh, you can just remember this unmanned aircraft operators permit to fly the RPS. RPS are basically drones. So Digital Sky platform, it is a platform that is developed. So what happens is, to fly the drones, let's say in the future, you need to take the permission from the government. So this will be controlled. So how you will apply? So the application will be sent to the through the Digital Sky platform. So it will be a web interface or it may be app also in future. Since it is a policy that is in frame, it is in the past, it is framing, it is not yet completed. So future can be like this, it can be web based or app based. So what it will do is, this platform will be India's central ecosystem. I mean, all the unmanned aerial vehicle ecosystem like drones and many other things, then those, for them permission can be given through this Digital Sky platform, and all the information will be collected at a central level. So what it will do, it will create an automated, seamless and centralized regulatory environment. This is important. So you will apply in Digital Sky platform, and then approvals will also be getting through automated. So there is no manual intervention in this. So that it what it will do, it will be a centralized regulatory environment. Since the platform will be controlled by centrally by DGCA. So DGCA will issue the regulations and permits, like first a drones and everything which need permission to fly, they will have a registration number, and then they will also give the pilot license and operator permit through this platform. It will be based on a no permission no takeoff. So like first you have to take a permission from DGCA through this platform, then only you can fly. If no permission is given and you're flying the drone in the controlled airspace, then what will happen is it is illegal, and like it is a threat, and the drone can be damaged also. So first you have to take a permission. That is what NPNT. No permission, no takeoff. Take permission and you do a takeoff. So One more thing which I want to tell you is, there's a definition called as controlled airspace. A controlled airspace is the airspace within which ATC services are provided. You can refer to the chapter of departments where I have told that ATC will be providing services over the controlled airspace only. And uncontrolled airspace is the airspace where ATC is not available or cannot be provided. This you can remember. Means ATC is there means it is a controlled airspace. If there is no ATC, then it is uncontrolled airspace. In India, many of the let's say this is India, then a part of them are controlled, and some of the regions are uncontrolled. So this is the platform. Next, there is a one more policy which is being currently being framed by the Indian government, and that is a NASP, which is National Aero Sports Policy. It is actually in process. What they are trying to do is now the Indian airspace is available only for civil aviation aircrafts. Now they are opening it for private as well as for commercial purposes. So what they'll be doing is they'll be creating some sports, aero sports. Exactly what all will be there, it is still unknown. But then you can just remember to promote the aero sports, they are writing on policy which is NASP. This will create significant opportunities for the growth of tourism, employment growth, and interest in aviation. So this also you can remember NASP. Next, there is one more platform or a policy which is a digital yatra. Digital yatra is a app. If you know from our previous chapter of the passenger journey, the passenger need to have a boarding pass. Boarding pass is mandatory. So what this yatra will do is everything, the passenger verification, everything will be automated, and like using biometric details of the passengers, the passenger can directly access the airport and he can board the aircraft. So the entire passenger journey can be automated using this digital yatra. So that is what it says. Digital processing of passengers at the airports. These are the key terms you have to remember. Passengers will be automatically processed based on facial recognition system. So biometric access. At checkpoints like entry point check, security check, aircraft boarding, all these will be automated. And then some cameras or some machines will be kept through which they will identify the validity of the passenger, and then the passenger can automatically go. So these are some of the features. Will facilitate the paperless travel. You need not take a ticket or you need not have to carry the boarding pass, and you have to avoid multiple identity checks. At the airport entry, security guard will check at the boarding gate. Airline attendant will check. There are so many checks which are happening. So these can be removed. Automatically the passenger can go and all the points will be, they will identify biometrically the passenger. So what it will do is it will seamless, hassle free and paperless journey experience to every air traveler in India. So in this application, every passenger will be given a unique digital Yatra ID. This is a key term, Digi Yatra ID. Just like Aadhaar card, which is unique to every person in India. Likewise, a digital ID can be issued, which will be unique to every passenger. Then all the biometric details will be there. Then using that ID, he can travel hassle free and it will enable the paperless journey, and it will be unique ID. So these are some of the aviation policies which are in pipeline, and some of them have started executing also. If you have any doubts, you can comment below. I will be happy to answer them. If you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos. Thank you for watching.